He had not told anyone he was coming home early. The flight landed before sunset, and by the time Daniel unlocked the front door of his quiet suburban house, the only thing he wanted was to surprise his daughter with a tight embrace. But as he stepped into his bedroom, his heart stopped. There, under his white comforter, lay the housemaid, curled protectively around a small figure. For a moment, anger surged through him like fire. Then he saw who was sleeping beside her, and everything he thought he knew began to unravel. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet miracles that change lives, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support keeps these stories alive. Daniel had been raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, alone since his wife passed away 3 years ago. He had buried his grief under long hours at the construction firm he owned, convincing himself that providing a large house, private school, and every material comfort was enough. To manage the home, he had hired Maria, a quiet woman in her early 30s who came recommended by a neighbor. She worked diligently, spoke softly, and never overstepped. Daniel barely noticed her presence most days, except to leave instructions on the kitchen counter before rushing off to work. But that night, standing frozen at the edge of his bed, Daniel noticed everything. The bedside lamp cast a warm glow over the scene. Maria was still in her simple cotton uniform, her dark hair loosely tied back, exhaustion etched across her face. One arm wrapped protectively around Lily, who lay pale and flushed, her small hand clutching Maria's shirt. A damp cloth rested on Lily's forehead. A thermometer and a glass of water sat on the nightstand. Daniel's anger dissolved into confusion. Why was his daughter in his bed? Why was Maria here with her? As if sensing his presence, Maria stirred. Her eyes widened in fear when she saw him. She quickly sat up, careful not to wake Lily, and the panic in her expression was not guilt. It was worry. She explained in a trembling voice that Lily had developed a high fever that afternoon. She had tried calling Daniel repeatedly, but his phone had been off during meetings and the flight. The fever climbed so quickly that Lily became delirious, crying for her father and refusing to sleep alone. Maria had called the family doctor, followed his instructions, and stayed by Lily's side for hours, sponging her forehead and whispering soothing words until the little girl finally drifted off. When Lily begged not to be left alone, Maria brought her to the master bedroom because it felt safer, more familiar to her when she missed her dad. Daniel looked down at his daughter again. He noticed the tear stains on her cheeks and the way she instinctively leaned closer to Maria, as if seeking comfort. A heavy weight pressed against his chest. He had been so consumed by deadlines and expansion plans that he had missed the signs of how lonely Lily had been. He remembered the drawings she left on his desk, stick figures of just the two of them, always holding hands. He remembered the nights he promised to read her a story, but fell asleep with his laptop open instead. In that quiet bedroom, Daniel saw a truth he had avoided for years. Maria had not crossed a boundary. She had stepped into a gap he had unknowingly created. The doctor arrived shortly after Daniel called him back. It was a severe viral infection, he confirmed, but manageable. Maria had done everything right. As the doctor left, Daniel sank into a chair, watching Maria adjust the blanket around Lily with tender precision. There was no performance in her care, no expectation of praise, only genuine concern. Over the next few days, Daniel stayed home while Lily recovered. For the first time in years, he canceled meetings without guilt. He sat beside his daughter, fed her soup, and listened as she spoke about school, about how Maria helped her with homework, how they baked cookies together on Fridays, how Maria told her stories from her childhood in a small village far away. Daniel realized there were entire chapters of his daughter's life he had not read. One evening, while Lily slept peacefully, Daniel found Maria in the kitchen washing dishes long after her shift had ended. He noticed the faint bruise on her wrist and the worn edges of her shoes. When he gently asked about her life, she hesitated, then shared that she was supporting her own young son who lived with her mother in another town. Her husband had left years ago, and she worked double shifts to afford school fees. She had never mentioned any of this, fearing it would seem unprofessional. Daniel felt a deep shame rise within him. He had seen her only as an employee, never as a mother separated from her child, never as a woman carrying her own burdens while caring for his. In Maria's quiet strength, he saw a reflection of his own struggle, and the difference was that she never let her pain make her distant. Something shifted in Daniel that week. He began coming home earlier. He attended Lily's school presentation and saw her scan the audience anxiously until her eyes found him. The way her face lit up pierced his heart more sharply than any reprimand could. He started cooking simple dinners with her, laughing clumsily as they burned pancakes and made a mess. The house, once silent and pristine, filled with warmth and noise. Daniel also made a decision that shocked everyone around him. He offered to adjust Maria's schedule and salary so she could bring her son to live in the city and enroll him in a nearby school. He arranged a small apartment for them close to his home and insisted it was not charity but gratitude. Maria wept quietly when she realized she would no longer have to tuck her son into bed through a phone screen. Months passed, and the transformation in Daniel's household was undeniable. Lily grew healthier, happier, more secure. Daniel rediscovered the joy of fatherhood not as an obligation but as a privilege. Maria's son became a frequent guest, and the children formed a bond like siblings. What had begun as a moment of shock in a dimly lit bedroom became